Hello and warm greetings. My name is Wendy Neo, and I am the Senior Officer for Emergency Water, Sanitation and Hygiene, or WASH in short, with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, based at the Asia Pacific Regional Office here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The IFRC is the world's largest humanitarian network, supporting local Red Cross and Red Crescent action in 192 countries. The Kuala Lumpur office supports 38 of those national societies. As my position title implies, my main focus is on emergency WASH, where I work with WASH and health counterparts at the country level in strengthening their emergency WASH preparedness and response through technical and program management support to these national societies as well as IFRC delegations in the Asia Pacific region. When you have completed this subtopic, you should be able to identify opportunities and challenges to foster and scale up local capacities. We will be looking at some disaster trends in the Asia Pacific region and then moving on to talking about key highlights of some of the emergency WASH efforts that has been happening here in the region. Before we deep dive and talk about emergency WASH in particular, let's start by looking at some figures related to disasters in the Asia-Pacific region. Part of what I do is to provide technical support to different emergency operations in the region, with a focus on emergency WASH activities. In 2021, we had 43 active emergency operations, spread across 4 sub-regions, namely South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Asia, and the Pacific. No surprise that floods and landslides were the most common types of disaster affecting the region, followed by cyclones and typhoons and population movement operations. You can see that in this region, unfortunately, there is a vast range of types of disasters. At times, we are known to be a supermarket of disasters. Of the 43 active emergency operations, 20 of them were located in a South Asia sub-region, followed closely by the Southeast Asia with 18 operations, 4 in the Pacific, and lastly 1 in East Asia. Here's a few key points and figures to take note and keep in mind. The first 2 points we already know and have seen in the past 2 slides. South Asia being the most disaster-struck sub-region, and floods and landslides being the most common types of disaster in 2021. 43 out of 49 operations in 2021 had WASH activities in it. This goes to show that WASH services and infrastructures often get disrupted and damaged in a disaster, and hence national societies with the support of IFRC need to be ready to respond to fulfill these urgent needs. 64.68 million people were affected by these disasters, where 3.23 million were targeted to be reached through these operations. Of these people, 1.54 million were supposed to be reached with WASH services, meaning 48% of the targeted affected people were supposed to receive WASH assistance. And out of this number, 1.46 million people were reached with some form of WASH assistance, with water supply reaching the greatest number of people. The Japanese Red Cross Society, or JRCS, has been a long-time supporter of emergency WASH initiatives in the region. Since 2012, up to 29 national societies have benefited from capacity development, knowledge sharing, WASH assets, networking and regional events, and country-level technical support. Let's have a closer look at some of the main targeted countries over the years. We can see that since 2015 to date, Bangladesh, Cambodia, Laos, and the Pacific has consistently received funding allocation and support. On average, since 2016, JRCS has been channeling a little over 200,000 Swiss francs on an annual basis in supporting national societies through the IFRC Asia Pacific Regional Office. It is also worth noting that the regional office has also been receiving funding that enabled key regional level events and efforts, which has proven to be the cornerstone for furthering emergency response and preparedness capacities in the region, which I will speak more when we talk about the emergency WASH case study later on. Seeing this slide, you may also realize that the process of building the capacity of national societies in emergency WASH response and preparedness is something that cannot happen overnight. The good work demonstrated by these national societies are a result of years of support and continuous investment in human resources, assets, and systems. The program aims for Asia-Pacific national societies to improve and scale up WASH capacities to meet acute and chronic needs. So we are talking about fulfilling needs that are not only during disasters, but also efforts to better prepare national societies during peace times. The support is delivered to the national societies through three approaches. Approach number one would be equipping for emergencies, where capacity building initiatives are carried out to provide technical knowledge and know-how on WASH approaches and concepts, and ensuring access to key WASH assets pre-positioned at strategic locations for immediate deployment. The next approach is empowering communities, where key information is cascaded down to community members in disaster-prone areas. And lastly, ensuring effective strategies, where we work closely with national societies for effective and efficient response through improvements in national society systems and mechanisms, such as working to ensure integration of WASH into contingency or disaster management plans. For this particular presentation, I will be covering the first two approaches. After giving you some information on the project approaches, let's take a look at who are the key actors and how are we all working together. Communication is mainly directly with the national society focal points, and where relevant and needed, we will keep the IFRC counterpart at the country level in copy and involved as well. Our role at the regional office is threefold. One, we are accountable to the targeted national societies, where we work closely with the WASH focal points to plan, implement, monitor, and report the project activities, and most importantly, to evolve and progress with the national societies. In pre-COVID times, technical support was mainly done through in-country missions, particularly in supporting emergency WASH trainings. But in times of pandemic, we have been coping well with remote support. It is not without its own set of challenges, but as humanitarian workers, we have to adapt to the situation at hand and make the best out of it. Secondly, our role is to lead regional level initiatives, such as organizing regional trainings and to align with national societies in terms of standardized guidelines. That includes working closely with national societies in translation of these key documents and development of relevant information, education, and communication materials. Last but not least, the regional office is accountable to the donor, in this case the Japanese Red Cross Society. In the initial stages, we negotiate with JRCS on project coverage, budget, and scope of activities. We ensure that the project activities and expenditures are on track and as per plan. It is also our duty to submit formal narrative and financial reports to the donor and provide further information and clarification when requested. When we started working with national societies under this project, we placed great emphasis on learning and capturing lessons in order to improve the way we work with national societies and to achieve a greater impact. Two internal reviews were carried out in 2017 and 2020, looking at how the implemented activities have facilitated or contributed towards the WASH capacities of the national societies in meeting acute and chronic WASH needs. Both these reviews helped guide us on how we can better work with national societies. Following these two reviews, we wanted to capture all of these learnings and experiences that have happened over the last few years in a more digestible and presentable manner. Thus, we came up with the idea of commissioning a case study. a document that celebrates the achievements of national societies that can be shared with other national societies in the region and with potential partners who might be thinking about getting involved in supporting capacity development in emergency WASH in the region. This case study takes a closer look at experiences in Bangladesh, Cambodia, Laos, and the Pacific sub-region. The links to these three key documents can be seen on the last slide of this presentation. I'll be mentioning some figures as we go through the next few slides. Note that these figures are the culmination of emergency WASH activities since 2016 up to December 2021, made possible by the funding support of the GRCS through the IFRC. Let's take a look at what we have accomplished under the first approach, which is equipping for emergencies. 30 MANPACs, which is a type of mobile water treatment unit, have been procured and handed over to 6 national societies. The project also provides a small budget for national societies to maintain these assets, including procurement of local spare parts and small repair works. In addition to the MANPACs, there were also other key WASH items that have been purchased and pre-positioned, such as water testing kits, turbidity tubes, rapid latrine superstructures, and jerry cans, to name a few examples. As a result of this support, national societies are now better able to provide emergency WASH services, going beyond what they have traditionally done in the past. Red Cross and Red Crescent branches now have the capacity to respond as these assets are pre-positioned at the branch level rather than at the headquarters. With the availability of these key WASH assets, not only national societies are able to deliver emergency WASH services more effectively and rapidly, but also ensure quality of their services. 64 emergency WASH trainings have been organized, reaching more than 1,500 staff and volunteers from 20 national societies, as well as representatives of other organizations and relevant government agencies. A big part of these trainings is working closely with national societies in developing and strengthening their training modules by updating and aligning them with standardized guidelines and incorporation of new emerging topics. We place a lot of emphasis in making sure that there is a progression of knowledge and know-how. For example, as a participant progresses from a unit level to a national level training, he or she will be exposed to more topics in a more in-depth manner and gets to experience new methodologies and tools. As a result of this support, staff and volunteers at the branch level had the opportunity to be trained in emergency WASH. The project specifically focused on training first responders, who are usually the ones who will first respond to emergencies in their communities or their neighboring areas. We moved away from organizing trainings at headquarters, which are usually located in capital cities, that may not be accessible to some staff and volunteers at the branch level. There has been an increased level of knowledge and know-how, as indicated by marked improvements evidenced by comparison of test scores and responses that we obtain from end-of-training evaluations. The project allocates a small budget for national societies to be used in deploying trained human resources and WASH assets to affected areas. A little backstory to this. The idea of allocating this small budget came from a review exercise in 2017, where some national societies expressed that they experienced delay in deploying volunteers and a delay also in starting emergency response activities due to a lack of immediate funding that they can use for quick response. Therefore, in subsequent years of JRCS support, we have included this budget line for national societies, which have proved time and time again its usefulness and value add. More than 116,000 people have been reached with emergency WASH services as a result of deployment of volunteers and relevant WASH assets made possible through this small fund allocation. The capacity to respond in a timely manner, together with the deployment of WASH assets and trained human resources, all of these factors have contributed in cementing the role of national societies, where national societies are being viewed and considered as a key actor in WASH in emergencies. This has reinforced the role of national societies as auxiliaries to their respective governments. Not only are they capable of responding to disasters within their own area or jurisdiction, but they are also in a position now where they are capable of helping out other branches in neighboring areas as well. Another component of the project is hygiene outreach. This is only applicable to the Cambodian Red Cross, where branch staff and volunteers visit targeted villages to talk about key health and hygiene issues. You may be thinking that this does not fit squarely within the scope of emergency WASH, but it is important to include some preparedness activities to raise community awareness and get them involved for more effective response action. To date, more than 42,000 people have attended at least one hygiene outreach session. Now, these outreach activities are a great channel to constantly educate and remind communities on the importance of hand washing with soap and water, particularly important and critical in the context of the pandemic. The methods that we use to communicate these messages are usually interactive, utilizing as much as possible visual aids, such as flip charts, posters, and also simple community-based exercises. These hygiene outreach activities that are carried out regularly encourages behavior change amongst the community members. Majority of those who have attended these sessions, they express that these sessions have been a great source of information that they otherwise won't be able to gain access to. These outreach activities are also a great way to capitalize their own Red Cross and Red Crescent volunteers, meaning utilizing human resources who understands the local areas and issues to carry out these sessions. It is also a great way for these volunteers to put into practice of what they have learned during trainings. Looking at trainings organized since 2016, the percentage of females on average makes up 36%. Although the ratio is getting more balanced over the years, there is still much to do in ensuring and encouraging more active involvement and participation of female National Society staff and volunteers in the area of emergency WASH. It is worthy to note that the Bangladesh Red Crescent Society makes it mandatory for their Red Crescent unit level officers to nominate one male and one female participant for a training. We hope that more national societies will emulate this practice in the future. It is assumed that every time we respond to a disaster, at least 50% of those that we plan to serve will be female members of the community. It is therefore important to ensure that in everything that we do, be it trainings or response activities, that a female voice is heard. This is to ensure that gender-specific issues and needs are taken into consideration and that the emergency WASH services that we are providing fulfills those needs. The topic of menstrual hygiene management or MHM have recently been included as part of the emergency WASH training module, recognizing the importance of considering and fulfilling menstrual needs and menstrual health of menstruating young girls and women. Another big part of this support is on development of key information, education and communication materials or IEC materials, especially posters and leaflets, to help communicate key health and hygiene messages to communities. Some examples of IEC materials developed relate to topics of transmission and prevention of diseases, hand washing steps, tube well disinfection, steps on how to use water purification tablets, household water treatment and safe storage, and how to prepare oral rehydration solutions. These IEC materials, they serve dual purpose. They get distributed during hygiene outreach session as well as during emergency response as well to reinforce the messages that are being communicated. Besides IEC materials, the project also supports national societies in translating and printing key IFRC guidance documents, including localization of the content, Some of the guidance documents localized and printed include the IFRC WASH guidelines for hygiene promotion in emergency operations and the IFRC MHM guidelines and tools. It is important to keep national societies updated on the latest guidelines to ensure that national societies are keeping up with the latest information and standards. With contextualized IEC materials, key health and hygiene messages can be delivered more effectively, taking into consideration local issues, belief system, and practices. Many national societies in the Asia-Pacific region in the past have not traditionally been active in providing emergency WASH services due to a variety of factors. Through the support of the JRCS via IFRC, we have managed to tackle some of these challenges by focusing our efforts in strengthening the capacity of national societies, both in hardware and software initiatives. For example, Cambodian Red Cross and Lao Red Cross were able to provide safe water and hygiene promotion activities for flood-affected populations back in 2018, when before this would not have been possible due to a lack of trained human resources and WASH assets. These national societies now can do more than what they used to, beyond the traditional services that they are known for. Since the support, national societies have gained increasing recognition as a key actor in the area of emergency WASH, thus reinforcing the critical role of these national societies as auxiliaries to their respective governments. These national societies are now better positioned to forge strategic partnerships with relevant government authorities, which means better coordination and possibly funding opportunities. These Red Cross and Red Crescent branches also find themselves now capable of not only being able to respond to disasters within their own district or province, but are also well prepared to help out and assist neighboring areas. Local staff and volunteers, particularly at the branch level, have gained so much from the support, particularly an increased knowledge and know-how in responding and fulfilling the needs of disaster-affected populations, in gaining access to safe water, proper sanitation facilities, and much-needed hygiene items and information. The pool of human resources trained in emergency WASH is consistently expanding, and their knowledge and skill sets are being updated with emerging issues and with the latest guidelines and standards. By strengthening the capacity of these volunteers, we are fully utilizing and mobilizing local volunteers who understand the local issues and therefore are best placed to meet the needs on the ground. The process of developing national society capacity in emergency response and preparedness takes years of effort and work. It is not something that can be done within a short span of time. This does not only mean direct investment needed in terms of trainings and WASH assets, for example, but also employing and having in place long-term WASH personnel based at the country level who are focused in moving the emergency WASH portfolio forward. It is important that partners who are contemplating in investing in emergency WASH initiatives should consider this factor and be able to commit to multi-year support in order to see and achieve tangible results. We will continue to balance hardware and software activities with continued focus on sustainability and localization. For example, working closely with national societies to find local solutions. Moving forward, we will take digitalization more seriously, where we hope to be able to allocate more resources to digitalize our emergency WASH modules so that we can expand our reach. In relation to sustainability, we will continue to work with national societies to ensure that WASH assets are well maintained and are in deploy-ready condition. We will continue to focus on and invest in strengthening local volunteers and staff at the branch level. As mentioned time and time again, they are the first responders on the ground who knows best the local communities and issues. They should continue to be at the center of what we do.